first person that everybody, they're all wanting to ask.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to get this job. Okay, it was in 1982, and I was asked to do a band called the Armory Show. And the Armory Show was a band being managed by Cliff and Peter, and they just signed these guys in Europe, and they wanted somebody to work with those guys. Well, to cut a long story short, I worked for the Armory Show for probably 18 months, but the guys didn't do very well. And Cliff and Peter said, we're going to drop these guys, but we've just signed a new band from San Francisco called Metallica. And it's heavy metal. And I'm like, what's heavy metal? And they're like, well, if you decide to do it, you'll find out. And I said, okay, and that was in 1984, November. And the first person I actually spoke to was Cliff. Fantastic. The first person in the whole band that I spoke to was Cliff. And as soon as I met Cliff, I thought, wow, if this is how these guys are, then we're going to be fine. You know? And it's been, well, it's 28 years later. And unfortunately, Cliff's not with us, but he's in spirit, definitely.
Cliff was the first person he had talked to in the band, is what he originally said. Yeah.
We need monitors, Ray. We can't hear ourselves.
I'll scoot back so you can scoot in, maybe. Has there been a Metallica show that you did not run sound for?
Yeah, there's been a few. You know, I'd love to say I've had a completely healthy life for 28 years, but occasionally you just get sick and you can't cope. So I've probably missed about 4 shows in 28 years.
4 fucking shows in 28 years is all you missed.
It's been a few I should have probably missed.
If you're not clapping for that, there's something wrong with you. If you think about that for a minute, Metallica's live sound is attributed to you. I mean, there's you've never seen a Metallica show unless you saw one of those unlucky 4 that he did not run sound for. So think about that for a minute. Think about every live concert, every time you see them on TV.
Funny. I have guys who work for me on the PA crew that weren't even born when I started doing sound for Metallica. My assistant, who is the computer wizard that I have, because all these new computers, I'm 54, working out how to work all these new computer things takes me a little longer. It's much easier to have somebody younger who understands what's going on. He's 30 years old, so when I started with Metallica, he was 2. And they keep reminding me of this, and I'm like, shit.
We've got guitar picks that have done more gigs than that.
Yeah, actually, I got older itineraries.
Right? How is it for you to come to shows now? What is it when the band takes the stage? What runs through your mind? Obviously, everybody here misses Cliff, and Cliff was, I mean, he was huge. As James has told me many a times, he was the driving creative force in a lot of things they were doing back then. So obviously his presence missed live, it's missed recording, it's missed all over. What are your emotions when you come to a Metallica show?
Metallica has always been extremely enjoyable. Okay, how's this? Is that better? All right. Yeah. But they are always have been entertaining. From the very first time that I saw them appear at the what was it, little store or club in San Francisco?
The Stone, yeah.
The Stone, that's it. And they have never been anything but extremely entertaining. Their music, one of the things that I liked about them is they are, and always have been, precise. They have been, when it comes to other heavy metal bands, they just don't have that certain beat, preciseness, or whatever you want to call it, which adds to the entertainment of it. And then, of course, James, I think he's just an absolute natural cheerleader. And they've always been enjoyable to me. And as Cliff once said one time, I said something about not seeing a second performance at the Kabuki Theater in San Francisco. And his mother and his grandbrother and I went to see it. And Bill Graham, who promoted the thing, asked them because of Kabuki, nobody was going to be there the next night. He says, "Can you guys perform Friday night?" And so they said, "Yeah." Well, I saw them one night, and it lasted for a while. So, anyway, when Cliff got home from that, the next Sunday, when he came home, I apologized to him for not going to see the second performance with his mother. And Cliff put his hand on my shoulder and he says, "That's all right, Dad. I know the kind of music you like." So anyway.
I get a lot of people that come to me, and you get over the years you get some complainers over the things we've done, the different albums, the different ballads, whatever you didn't fucking like out there, right? And I get a lot of people that come to me, and I know that Mick will agree with me on this. Everybody says that, oh, if Cliff was around, they wouldn't have done the Black Album, they never would have done a video, they never would have done this. Cliff was the most creative one of all of them. He was the one actually who pushed them to do ballads. The power ballad kind of thing, the Fade to Blacks, instrumentals, just having songs that had no vocals whatsoever, was actually Cliff Burton's idea. So he was probably, in my opinion, he was, far ahead of his time. He was always looking way further down the road, and people were going to be doing...
No. Cliff was, his spirit was the music. You've got to understand, Cliff didn't plan anything down the road. Cliff just played what he played, he used to have this little Rockman thing that he used to plug a guitar into. I fixed that thing so many fucking times. I hate those things. Because he'd get on his bed in the hotel, get his headphones on, and he always played guitar, not bass, when he was jumping up and down. And he'd jump up and down until the shit just went everywhere. And then, when he got bored with that, then he had these Japanese throwing stars. And he'd sit in his room and throw them in the wall. And I don't know if even you know this, right?
Never heard that one before.
The amount of damage done to hotels around the world is pretty bizarre. And he'd throw them in the door. He'd go in there, there'd be all these holes in the door. You're in a hotel, he's got Japanese throwing stars. And Cliff played from the heart. When he played, he just played a note. It wasn't planned, it wasn't like, oh, I need to do that. He just felt it. He knew which way to go for some reason. And that was his talent, is he felt the music. And hence, a lot of the good Metallica songs are written by Cliff. Not to be too detrimental to the other guys.
Yeah, you can obviously tell by watching him, he was so into what he was doing. He was having the most fun up there than the other guys.
Oh,
by far.
He didn't know the other guys were there. Seriously, he got his head down with that Morley wah pedal that would dominate any show. The second he stood on that thing, it got so loud, you wouldn't even begin to imagine. He could be louder than the entire band just from the stage with that Morley pedal. And it's like when we lost Cliff, talking to James was like, how can I perform without looking over and seeing that man there? Because it was Cliff. Cliff was the guy. We all looked to Cliff. Cliff was a little older than the rest of the guys. He wasn't as old as I was, but he was still the oldest guy in the band. They all looked to him. He was like the guy who made the decision, Pretty bizarre at those times in the early years,
It's very bizarre. A lot of the band members' roles have all changed over the years. They've all evolved into what everybody calls Lars the boss, and James is the creative one. They've all evolved into things and had to step up and do different roles because Cliff's no longer with us. He's no longer.
Cliff used to be all of those things.
Absolutely. Cliff was the boss applesauce, as we say in America. He was the boss of the band. He was running shit, They butted heads a lot, obviously, over creative stuff, but everything else too, cartons of milk and you name it. He was the boss, he was the man.
What is you have to realise that when they wrote a lot of the music, there's a place called Maxwell. These guys know about Maxwell. I've been to Maxwell. And it's this cabin that's 16 miles from anywhere. And they just sit up on the porch and play to the hillside. And I believe, I don't don't know what actual songs were written there. A lot of them, I believe.
Absolutely.
You know, in complete silence. All they had was a generator to run the little amps that they had, and they just rocked out on the porch with nobody within 16 miles of them. So that's where that's where they found their musical ability. Lars didn't like it up there apparently. He went there the once and didn't like it. But they wouldn't let him leave, I understand, so they kind of kept him prisoner, you know.
I know when I did the Fillmore shows, he came out and we're so the Fillmore shows that we did, and he came out for our 30th anniversary shows. Thank you. We had a museum set up there, and we brought the last bass that Cliff played. I did not bring it here today. But if you guys all behave, maybe I can bring it next year. So please try to be good tonight. But that I know for a fact that is Lars Ulrich's most prized possession that he's ever had. What is your most prized possession that belonged to your son Cliff? I'm hitting you with tough questions all night.
To me, the most prized possession of Cliff is the wonderful memories that I have of my son. I don't know if I've ever said it to very many of you people. Cliff was what I considered, his mother considered, an ideal son. He never gave his mother and me any kind of problem. He wanted to play the bass guitar. He knew what he wanted to do when he was 13, and by God, he went out and did it. And he practiced. He never had to say a friggin' thing to him about practice. He knew what he wanted.
Come on! That's awesome.
And he felt that, and I've told this to people, he felt that he was never arrogant about it, but he knew he had enough talent that if success didn't come to him and Metallica, that he was a good enough basis to become a studio musician. And a person really has to realize their talent, to have that attitude at the age of, I think at that time he was probably about 19 when he said that to his mother. He just asked him, well, support me for 5 years, and if it doesn't work out, then it won't work out. But I know I can be a studio musician, and that's pretty goddamn good.
That's very good. So he had a 5-year deal with your son. Make or break 5 years. That's awesome.
That's what he felt. Took 5 years, and you know, if for 5 years, there's no question that he would have been on his own.
He'd have been okay, I'm sure.
Yeah, I believe he would have. I know there's several fans here that want to ask some questions as well, so I don't want to hog it all up and make it just the three of us. I want to take a few from the crowd. I'm not Phil Donahue, so we'll have a microphone for you.
Like Phil Donahue?
You can be. We'll get you out here with it.
Hey guys, how you doing? The first question I would like to say to you, Mick, I'm also an audio engineer, so I understand a couple of things that go on.
He's not hiring.
So my second question is, one of the things I heard over the years is that the sound that Metallica developed with you, one of the most important things was the kick drum. The kick drum in the live sound. I mean, you were one of the first, I assume, you let me know. You were one of the guys that began to develop that kick sound in AK or whatever.
That was all out of necessity. That's because, obviously for the longest times, bands only had one kick drum. And, you know, the beat was very slow. But of course, then all of a sudden heavy metal starts and you got that. And until we actually realised that bass drums didn't actually need to be bassy particularly, that they need to have some treble in them as well.
In order to appear in
order to be able to be heard. And that's all we really did, was we realised that when Lars started to do double kick drum, it became just a big rumble and there was no actual percussion to it. And that's when I went, well, maybe if we try a bit of this.
So in the first shows that they played, they didn't have double kicks. They just had one without
Not with me. With me, it was always double kick.
Oh, because it's much
I
better.
think, I don't know if they had one before with a guy called Mark Whittaker, Mark Walker.
Oh, Mark Whittaker, I guess it was his first sound guy for a couple of shows before that.
Well, he was the sound guy before they were signed to Q Prime.
Okay.
And then when Q Prime signed them,
You came with Q.
I came with Q Prime.
Yeah.
Not particularly with Q Prime, but
Yeah. But
I'd already worked
at that time. Well, because that kick sound drum is, I guess it's a signature. And now I can say I've been from Argentina and I do live sounds, and everybody tries to get that kick sound live. It doesn't matter if it is a metal band, if it's a pop band as well.
Yeah, I know that.
I guess that is one of the most
It's
important
kind of
things.
funny because I had this argument with Robert Plant from when I was doing Led Zeppelin, and he was like, I don't want that Metallica kick sound. And I'm like, hey, look, there are degrees of that. You know, okay, Metallica might be on the extreme edge. We can tame it down a little bit. And it was really funny because when we did the sound check at the O2 for Led Zeppelin, and I'd already set it up to be kind of dull, it wasn't a big clip. He came out front and he was listening to it, and he actually said, it needs some more top end. And I'm just like, thank you, fuck it.
And for those of you who don't know that, when Led Zeppelin got back together and did what was the big function they were doing, the O2 thing, we don't really like big moonlighting, as we call it, getting other gigs. But you know what, if Led Zeppelin's going to get back together, I think we'll let you slide on a couple of gigs, you know what I mean? So that's huge. Who else got some questions?
I have one back here, Toby. Toby.
Yo, there she is. What do you got?
It's actually not a question. Mr. Burton, I wanted to thank you for supporting your son and inspiring him musically and supporting him and really letting him fulfill what we did for all of us. So thank you, sir.
A whole bunch of shit down on that one. Anybody, let me see, hands, who wants to ask a question real quick? This guy right here. Purple camouflage. Him and Prince could never see you in that. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is for Big Mick. I wanted to ask if the signal coming out of the front of house, how does that differ from the signal coming from the wedges on stage?
Oh, it's completely different. The stuff on stage is what the band members want, and the stuff that the PA is what I want. So what they think they should have and what I allow them to have is two completely different things. Now, there's another guy, a guy called Bob, who mixes the sound. Because, you know, if you're playing guitar, you might not want an awful lot of drums. You might want your guitar and your vocal, but you don't want a lot of drums. You know, you might just need a bit of snare drum, or you know, it's mixed separately. You wouldn't like to listen to what, for instance, if we put on Mars listens to during the show in the PA, you wouldn't like it.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't hear much Kirk Hammond and a few other things. He's mostly
no
rhythm
bass
stuff.
guitar
You'd have no bass guitar at all. Yeah, but different. All the guys have in-ear monitors, so the mix is different for each one of them. So it's a complementary thing with the wedges. So Bob Cowan's our monitor engineer. He's our front of house engineer, which is you can go visit Mick at any time you'd like at the console out here in the front of the house. He does accept gifts. Any other questions? Let's get some more.
I actually have a question.
Yo.
Stephen asked me to bring it to the group. Nick, do you like bacon?
That's kind of funny, the bacon thing.
What kind?
That's like an in-joke, right? What it was, because I don't start work till later on. You know, I come in about 1, 2 o'clock when they've got all
He's
work.
being on is 4 or 5.
No, not the first time. But when I first come in, it's 1, 2 o'clock, and breakfast's always finished. So it's into the quiches and all this other food. And I come in, I go, well, I want a bacon sandwich. And they won't do it, right? So I've got the guys in production to put bacon on the rider for all day. So that when I come in at 2 o'clock, I can have a bacon sandwich. And it's kind of been like that now for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a running joke. And I know
it's a
that.
standard joke in the industry,
Yeah.
of course. But you know, you go in catering and there's never much of that bacon left.
But I've been in Switzerland before, and there's been bacon or goulash, and I want to thank you for the bacon rider. Okay,
Everybody loves the
very,
bacon.
very much. Anybody else got some more questions here? Just yelling here. Don't knock over my camera. Gotta get you out of here.
Well, first, I want to thank Mick for 28 great shows,
Thank you.
But I need to ask you, what went wrong in Tel Aviv?
What?
What went wrong in Tel Aviv 2 or 3 years ago?
I'll tell you what happened in Tel Aviv. When we're running on generators, right? If you actually have a big kick drum, it makes the voltage drop of the generator every time the kick drum hits. Now we have something called the UPS, which is an uninterruptible power supply. And what happens is, when that device sees the voltage drop so low, it steps in and makes the voltage up. But it can only do that until its battery goes flat. Right, so we started the show, big kick drum, power, eventually it turned off. Which is why it went kind of quiet pretty quickly like. But we fixed it. My assistant again jumped through burning hoops.
I want to get you to work, first of all. I want to make sure we get you guys. I appreciate you guys doing this, but I want to take more questions if you got them. Anybody got more questions here? And no, it's very extremely strange to be telling the show.
Oh, it's a great shirt. But doesn't it sound like James singing?
It does. He's a very good does, doesn't it? He's a very good friend.
Makes you wonder if it is or not, actually.
No, it's my question is, could you describe a little bit about how I've heard that when the guitar sounds are made on stage, they're actually played in a crate through an amp and then mic'd to go out to the audience?
Yes. What we have is isolation chambers. It's a 4x12 inside the box, and the amplifiers, that speaker's mic'd for the monitors and for house. It does both. We did that, well I did it 15-20 years ago, and it wasn't particularly so much for the audio, it's because we used to have a lot of stage invasions. Kids would come on stage, right, and they'd kick the mics all over the fucking place, and it really pissed me off. I'd be halfway through a song and all of a sudden there's no guitar.
You pissed off? No way.
No, never. So I actually thought, well, we're going to come up with a solution for this. And the solution was to not have the mics on stage, but to have them backstage inside a sealed enclosure. And the byproduct of that is, it's a consistent guitar sound from day to day, you know? It's always the same. But it was to solve a more weird problem.
You don't work for Mick and Decorating, do you? Just checking.
We got some big time.
Did they send you to ask that question? Metallica.
That's a great, some of these songs are fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Here to Justice, so you got one.
After so many, couple thousand shows that you've done,
Probably is a couple of thousand.
does it ever get boring, or how do you keep it
Fuck
interesting?
yeah. It was
Don't really tell them how you keep it
It was
interesting.
fucking boring 1,000 shows ago. No, look, hey, you know, I don't think you guys fully appreciate what we have to do sometimes, and it's the job we choose. It's nothing to do with you guys. But when they do things like, let's take this last period we just got. We went from Donington, we played Donington, and the very next day we played Austria. Now, we have to get to Austria and set up the equipment. Having not got back to the hotel till 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to leave again at 5 to go straight into another show. And anybody can get fucking bored with doing that, trust me. It's, you know, it's very long hours, and I'm looked after, you know. Unfortunately, I have to get up and fly with the guys, the crew, but the second we land, I go to a hotel, they go to the gig, and then I get the call later to say, it's all working and ready for you to come and fuck about, and that's when I turn up. So I see other people suffer more than I do. You probably would never consider it, you know. You know, the guys here doing this show had to go to Fresno, work in Fresno for 3 or 4 days doing another project, and then we had to fly here, which is right across the country, and go straight into doing this. That can get a little tiring, but the actual job itself, I love doing the sound, I love mixing bands and whatever. The problem is the travelling. By fucking far, it is the worst. And you know, you guys are the fucking worst in the world. Because you're all so paranoid. Alert, threat, yellow or orange or what the fuck. Look, if it's going to happen, it's going to fucking happen, you know what I mean? You ain't going to stop it, fuck it, let it go.
So wait, you don't have to go through that kind of bullshit anywhere else? They're taking the shoes off and everything in the middle?
No. You guys, it's the perpetual fear. Keep them in perpetual fear.
I'm defecting. Immediately.
We had the IRA for fucking 150 years.
It's nothing new in Europe, I guess.
No, so they would bomb us at random at times, you know. But we don't have threat alert orange in the airports. We do have cops with guns now, which is a little bit weird, but
him staying at the hotel and it's kind of like a pitcher at a baseball game situation. You want your best guys fresh. If he's been here lugging road cases up and down the goddamn ramp all day, and then expected to jump behind a sound monitor and satisfy all you fucks out here, it's a little bit difficult to him.
I don't push boxes anymore. I'm too old for that shit. Kill me.
Mick, I'm aware. I push separate boxes for you. I push the boxes so good. Where is the microphone? Anybody got any more questions? Any more? There's a guy over here in a gray shirt. I feel like Phil Donahue.
That should feed that nicely.
Now I feel like Phil Donahue.
There you go. Predictable.
So what was your biggest challenge moving from analog boards to digital boards?
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, we don't know that. Never got time.
Well, it's kind of funny because I always made the statement that you'd never get the XL4, my analog console, from my dead clutching fingers. But unfortunately, all those consoles got really old. And we did a show in Japan where they brought this rental console in and half the faders wouldn't move. They were stuck, and I'm like, okay, they're all going to get like this now. So I had to learn to use the new version of the old version. And I have to be honest, I kind of like it now. What I do like is, with the digital consoles, I can carry the show around on a key fob. Walk in, plug it in, recall, and that is the same show as it was maybe a year ago. With the analog ones, you've got to turn all the knobs yourself, and it takes much longer.
So now you don't even turn knobs now.
Well, that's why I can be here, because somebody else is down there.
And we appreciate you being here, both of you, for doing this. We really do. Any other questions for these guys? I got a couple over here. We won't have too much time for Mick and these guys to mingle afterward and everything, so I'm going to get you back in there getting fresh. Do we just stay around for a little bit? Okay.
Hi guys, this is definitely not the question. In 1986, I was 14 years old, and I saw Metallica for the first time the night before the accident. I have told the other members several times that it kind of changed my life, and this is my probably only opportunity to thank Cliff's father. So, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
What did you are more than welcome. Anyway, I appreciate that, but I'm going to emphasize that really Cliff's mother, Jan, was a big help, because she so encouraged Cliff, but she was never demanding. And so when you thank me, it really should go in spades in thanking his mother, because she was really a wonderful lady, and she loved Cliff oodles. So anyway,
all was good.
She was a wonderful lady, and she would have absolutely gone out of her mind in this wonderful festival that's going on here today. Really.
That's awesome. When he was growing up, was it you or Jan? Where did he get it? Where did he get the music from? Was there a lot of music in the home, or was what did you listen to?
Oh, I always liked music from the time I was a little kid. But as far as none of us, I had 4 brothers and a sister, and none of us really took up the playing of music. Our parents didn't encourage it. So, and on Jan's side of the family, it was the same thing. So it was all Cliff's initiative. And what he told us, he liked the bass guitar that came on when, Barney Miller, I think it was, the big music. And so he said, in 1975, he says, Mom and Dad, I want to play a guitar. Can you buy me a guitar and give me lessons? And as I've told people, we got him a cheap guitar and some cheap lessons, and he just took it from there. And it was a pretty goddamn good, successful. Okay?
You did all right. Any other questions? Who had one? I saw hand. There you go. Oh. No, go ahead.
He wants to ask a question back. He doesn't speak English. He wants only in Spanish. I'll just like...
We'll answer in some other language as well. Go ahead.
Si tú sabes, te das una idea de los fans de Argentina o del mundo cuando sacan un evento, un show, la venta de los tickets. Si ustedes tienen idea lo que para nosotros representa eso, no pensar más que en eso, en trabajar pensando en ese show y no ver el momento de poder estar en ese show.
If you, I guess it's for you, Tommy. They said that since when you develop a type of festival like this or a big show like the ones that happen in December, when you tell the people all over the world that this is going to happen, if you are aware how important it is for a big fan like his that since he hears this first news that this is going to happen, all he's been thinking is how to get here, how to travel in exactly 12,000 miles from Argentina just to be here for 2 days and have the opportunity to share whatever he can share with you guys. It's so big for him.
It's big for us. I started as a fan. I met Big Mick Hughes in Knoxville, Tennessee. We were Justice for All '88. We were doing the rehearsals in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I'm from originally. And I met you and Tony Smith in the parking lot outside. I asked you both, because I was young. When you're young, you ask a lot of stupid questions. So I delivered, of course. I asked, my question was, do you make a lot of money? Or do you make good money? And you and Tony both looked at me and said, I wouldn't fucking be here if I didn't. So I started out with a fan just like you. I put a museum together over here and stuff. I put the guitars here, and this was I just was a huge fan. Do I understand what this means to you guys? Bet your ass I do. Absolutely.
And I think the band do as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hi. Toby, Nick. I'm from Mexico City.
See you in a few months.
So, well, my question is, I have two questions, one for Ray and one for me. First, for me, like changing this, first you have Cliff, then you have Jason, then you have Robert. The sound of the basses, being so different. I mean, Jason played with Pig, Cliff and Robert with fingers. Like, what was the challenge or difference that you make, like, for the sound of the band live?
Well, I think, interesting question. Bass has never been a big instrument in Metallica since Cliff. I mean, if you think of Justice for All, very little bass guitar.
No bass guitar.
I wasn't going to say it, but
I did.
Jason played with a pick and was more percussive. Rob sort of plays with his fingers, but they could almost be picks because they're so hard. It's not much of a difference, really. I think it's just down to the individual musician what they do. The bass, James has always been the person who sort of does the big bass thing really with his guitar. It's a little bit different now. I have changed the way I do it a little. There's a little more bass guitar now than what there may have been years gone by.
Okay, thanks. And my second question.
I'm going to let you break the rule and do 2 questions. I was going to only have 1 guest, now I have 2, so go ahead.
And for Ray, well, first of all, it's an honor to be with you right now. I mean, your son is wonderful, a nice power, you know. And when Jason entered to the band, and when Robert came to the band too, I don't know, like, what do you tell them, or if they come and, like, if you give them your blessing, or, I don't know, you know, like, they're gonna get into a big thing, you know, with Cliff, being the replacement of Cliff, both of them, you know.
You were asking what went on with Cliff when he was joining the band? Is that what you're asking?
No. What he's asking is, what do you or what would you say to Jason Newsted and Robert Trujillo as far as offering your blessing and taking your son's, position?
Absolutely. They both of them. They played very, very good bass, and so all I could do is just wish them the best. And with both of them, I think the success that came with their joining the band just kind of, Jan was very enthusiastic about Jason. She thought he was very good, and so did I. And so we encouraged him to just go in there and he has the talent, just do it. And James was, I had heard of James before because Cliff Burton and James were with Ozzy, and so the talent was there before, and he's just a great player, and so we wish him all the best, for sure. I mean, it shows that it really maybe well, there's one thing I want to say that I think after, I can't do it when I'm on stage, but I would like to, when I'm on stage, just turn and point to Big Mick and say, now there's a good sound man, folks, let's give him an applause.
That was cute, go on. You both been so influential, not just in the Metallica world, but obviously, you can look around and tell we take this pretty seriously. You know what I mean? So you both played instrumental roles in what we've done, in what our careers have. We would not be the same. Obviously, we would not be the same without your son and his gift, for lack of a better term. We had a gift. I mean, it's not like you said how in playing the bass or you were a orchestra cello player or anything. I mean, we had a natural gift for music that you encouraged, which is a pretty important message. I mean, for all of you who are going to be parents one day, as I am, is you can't discourage art, which is what that was. And that was what was driving him, and obviously he was very, very motivated. And you weren't discouraging at all, which is, I mean, really is probably why we're all fucking here right now, because you did that, and I think we should all just thank you for that. I mean, just for being a model parent.
I wonder whether Metallica would be around if it wasn't for Rob.
Absolutely not. I don't think they would. I think if you asked James Hetfield that question, he would agree with us as well. But he had a gift, and he brought it. He motivated those guys. He made those guys have to play better to keep up with him, because he was. When they first started the band, he was far beyond them musically, way far beyond them, and they knew that when they were going to eating from trauma. They had every idea of like, wow, we might be out of our fucking heads with this guy because he's really, really good, but we're going to give it a shot. Thank God they did, and thank God that you were so encouraging as a parent. Thank you so much.
One of the things that always amused me is Cliff had this long hair, and he was born in Castro Valley, and it's a pretty conservative area, East Bay. And anyway, Cliff had the long hair, and kind of a hippie, and certainly he didn't look a perfect citizen that a lot of the doctors that were had homes in Castro Valley. But the thing that always occurred to me is these people that object to Cliff and his appearance don't know him. And as a person that knew him, whether I was his dad or whatever, he was just very, very good and nothing like he appeared. And so anyway, that's it.
No, we'll all agree, you're welcome to ramble on as much as you want. You can tell them. I would say 2 more questions and then we're going to get these guys to the jobs and maybe you guys can say hello to them before they take off.
Hi guys. So a question for Mr. Burton. You know, everyone in this tent, I think their first Metallica concert was a very special event. Ray, when was your first Metallica concert? When and where? And what was your initial reaction to the music of Metallica?
Well, it was loud. And but my impression of it was that my son liked it. He liked to play it. So if it was good enough for Cliff, it was good enough for me. And I found out when I saw Metallica in their first concert there at the Stone in San Francisco that they were extremely enjoyable. So it turned from, well, I don't know, it's kind of loud because I grew up in the big band era and there's a totally different type of music. Yet there are different types of music and I love a lot of different kinds of music. And so this just happened to be one of them. And so anyway, I try to encourage him and without any kind of rah stuff because Cliff really didn't need that. So anyway, I liked it and the more I heard it, the more I liked it because of the entertainment part.
Favorite song?
Favorite Metallica song, what do you got?
Orion!
And that was the shameless plug for our festival either. He's being honest, that's awesome.
No, that's a good story, I think. Cliff had this little machine that he could take over and take one type of the guitar and then the rhythm and then, you know, he could, like Les Paul did with guitar playing. And he had this little machine and he would be in his bedroom and record. And so one day he called his mom and dad in and said, "Hey, Mom and Dad, come and listen to this song that I wrote." So we go in there in the bedroom and he started playing it and it was a 3/4 time. I said, "Jan, you and I can waltz to this. How about that?" So
That's awesome. We're going to do one more question now. I want you guys to be able to say hello to these guys for me. Wish them away in a golf cart as we do. You, sir?
Actually, it's really not really a question. I just want to say, coming over 3,000 miles, to say thank you because Metallica is the only band I would travel this fall to see. My very first Metallica concert, I live in Washington State. My very first Metallica concert was in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I've been to Frisco, New York City, here, and I just want to say thank you because the music inspires me, it changed my life. And my first album was Master of Puppets. I got introduced to them with my friends in junior high, and I just want to say thank you for everybody, all the Metallica camp, for being such a huge part of my life. I can say all of you can say it here, but we love you, all you guys. Thank you very much.
One little thing before we leave.
No, you can do 20 things for you, but you're welcome to keep on. Come on, what do you got?
This guy is a great MC, don't you think?
One of my 30 jobs that I do here. Do you have anything you want to share and leave with these people before we go here? Anything, any particular story, any particular thoughts? Other than be safe and have fun tonight, obviously.
I have so many of them. I don't think there's any one favorite. Except that Cliff, from the time he was a little kid, he took the initiative on things like one time I came home from work and Jan was saying that there was a vacant lot right next to us, and Cliff and his little school friends were playing there. So this one time they were digging, I guess they wanted to make a cave or something, and there was a young boy about 2 years older than what Cliff was, about 5, I think, maybe 6, first grade. And so this kid was in about the 2nd or 3rd grade. He was older, and he was a bully. And so Jan said she was watching this kid act. There was about 4 or 5 other little friends of Cliff's, and they were all small little guys. And this kid was taking advantage of him. And Jan said Cliff all of a sudden jumped out of the hole they had dug, and he walks over the kid, and bam! He hit it. And that, mind you, he was only 5 or 6, and the kid started crying and he left. Just at a young age,
that's where aggression was born, right there, in that hole. You know, he was digging a hole to shine or whatever, and aggression struck him. That is awesome. I want to thank you both just for being here and doing this for us. I mean, it means a tremendous amount to me. I know it means a tremendous amount to everybody here. You guys have influenced, touched our lives. It changed us all a little bit as humans. Your son changed us all. You're going to change our hearing when we all lay down and go to bed tonight. We're going to hear this. When you hear that little, when you get back to your hotel or your brothel or wherever you're going tonight, you lay down. You hear that little ringing in your ear, that little thing that'll go away. That'll be him. You're welcome, by the way. You're welcome. Thank you guys for coming out, okay? Thank you both. Thanks, guys.